Hello everyone, welcome back to Reading Out Aloud. Today I'm going to read a story from Disney Princess Storybook Collection. It's from the movie Brave. It's called The Legend of the Emeralds. Now this story is adapted by Hannah Eliot from the original story written by Ellie O'Ryan. Enjoy! Princess Merida raced down the palace hallway. She had looked forward to the Rites of Summer all year long. It was a special festival that celebrated the friendship between the clans. This year, the Macintosh clan would be her family's honored guest. There would be dancing, games, and feats of strength. At the docks, everyone gathered to greet their visitors. Young Macintosh stepped down from the boat. The sunlight glinted off a family crest tied to his kilt sash. "Oh, fancy, are we?" Merida teased him. Young Macintosh grinned. "What, you don't have a crest of your own?" "No, but I have this," Merida replied, showing him a lucky charm tied to her bow. "So, shall I beat you at archery or to the top of the fire falls first?" she challenged with a sly smile. "To the fire falls," young Macintosh cried. Merida jumped on her horse Angus, and young Macintosh followed close behind. The two reached the base of the fire falls at the same time. They began to climb the craggy rocks. They were neck and neck as they approached the top. Merida pulled herself up. "I won!" she cried. "Barely," argued young Macintosh. Then he looked around. "Wow, this is a fine waterfall you've got here," he remarked. "Where does all this water come from?" "I'm not sure," Merida replied. "Let's find out." Merida and young Macintosh walked deeper into the forest. Then they stopped short at the edge of a deep lake. "I suppose this is it," Merida said, disappointed. "I fancied we would have an adventure, but this is just a common loch." She tried climbing a boulder to get a better view. Suddenly, the boulder moved. Merida stumbled forward into a cave, and young Macintosh jumped up to follow her. When Merida caught her balance, she gasped at what she saw. "It's the real source of the fire falls," Merida exclaimed, pointing at a pool of glowing water. There, two large, glowing emeralds were resting on a stone ledge. "Those emeralds must be lucky," she said. "Lucky?" young Macintosh asked. "But emeralds are a symbol of power, not luck." "Everyone knows emeralds bring good luck," Merida scoffed. Merida and young Macintosh began to argue. Suddenly, young Macintosh snatched up one of the emeralds. "I'm taking this to my father. Then you'll see how powerful emeralds are. The Macintosh clan will be stronger than ever." "Then I'll be taking the other one," Merida exclaimed. They each put an emerald in their own pouch. Neither one noticed that the gems had stopped glowing. Back at the castle, Lord Macintosh assured them that the emerald was a symbol of power. "Lord Macintosh is correct," replied Queen Eleanor, "but it also symbolizes luck, and we sometimes forget the emerald's most important meaning, loyalty. The ancient legend of the emeralds is why we're here today." She explained that there used to be fighting between the clans. Then two great kings rose to power, and each placed an emerald at the source of the fire falls to symbolize their clan's new friendship. As long as the fire fall ran sparkling, there would be peace. Suddenly, a Dunbrock clansman raced into the hall. "The fire falls! They've gone dark!" he cried. Everyone raced outside to look at the lifeless falls. "Who has done this?" cried King Fergus. Lord Macintosh nodded. "Yes, when King Fergus finds out which one of his Dunbrock clansmen did this, he will have my support." "Which one of my clansmen? It was probably one of your clansmen," King Fergus said. The men glared at each other. "Macintosh clan," Lord Macintosh commanded. "We're leaving." Merida and young Macintosh looked at each other as everyone else went back to the castle. They had to get those emeralds back to where they belonged before the friendship between their clans was ruined. The pair tried to climb up to the cave, but the new darkened water made the rocks too slippery. Suddenly, Merida saw a blue will-o'-the-wisp. She knew it would lead them to their destiny. More wisps appeared, drawing Merida's eyes to the top of the falls, where she noticed a small tree. "If only we had a rope," Merida said. "You mean like this?" Young Macintosh asked, showing her a long coil. "I'll throw it up so it twists around that tree," he suggested, but he couldn't throw far enough. Then Merida had an idea. She picked out her strongest arrow. She pulled back the bowstring, adjusted her aim, and whoosh! The arrow flew into the sky and landed next to the tree. Carefully, Merida used the rope to climb the rocks. When she was at the top, she tied the rope to the tree. Young Macintosh followed her up. He was almost at the top when the rope suddenly snapped. Young Macintosh began to fall, but he grabbed onto a rock just in time. Merida reached out to give him a hand. As she did, her pouch tipped forward, and the emerald she had carefully tucked inside plunged over the cliff. "No!" Merida cried. The emerald was gone. Merida helped young Macintosh up. "You saved my life," he said. "Thank you." Merida and young Macintosh didn't know what they would do, but they hurried back to the cave. The water of the fire falls was getting even darker. When they reached the cave, young Macintosh tried to put the emerald back where he had found it. It nearly toppled off the stone ledge. Merida looked concerned. "The two emeralds must have supported each other," she said. "What were they going to do without the other stone?" "The legend!" Merida suddenly gasped. "Each king put an emerald on the stone. We've got to put something there too." She removed her lucky charm from her bow and placed it on the ledge. Young Macintosh placed a small knife. For a moment, a sparkling flash crackled and there was a burst of light, but it quickly faded. Merida shook her head. "It can't just be anything. It has to be something that really, truly matters." Young Macintosh nodded. He carefully unpinned his family's crest from his kilt sash and placed it on the ledge. A halo of green light surrounded the objects as they lit up with dazzling sparkles. A golden light flickered out from under the ledge, filling the whole cave. Then finally, the water began to glow again. Merida and young Macintosh raced from the cave just in time to see the firefalls turn from black into a clear crystal blue. From the top of the falls, Merida and young Macintosh could see the docks. There, Clan Macintosh was preparing to leave. Merida picked out her father, who was standing next to Lord Macintosh. "They're probably still shouting at each other," she said with a heavy sigh. Quickly, Merida and young Macintosh raced back down the falls and rowed towards the dock. "Wait," young Macintosh called when they were close enough. "We don't have to leave." "The fire falls are sparkling again," Merida cried. "The water flows as beautifully as it always has." She explained how she and young Macintosh had been the ones responsible for ruining the falls and for fixing them again. "Now there's no reason our clans can't stay friends," Merida finished hopefully. "So we don't have to leave?" young Macintosh asked his father. King Fergus and Lord Macintosh looked at each other. "Of course not," exclaimed Lord Macintosh, smiling at King Fergus. Merida and young Macintosh also shared a smile. By working together, they had fixed the firefalls and the argument between their clans. From then on, the Rites of Summer would have a special meaning for both of them. The end. Now, if you really enjoyed Merida's story today, there is another story called Merida's Wild Ride, which we'll be uploading in the next few weeks. Stay tuned. Thank you for listening to today's story. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about Reading Out Aloud. New stories are uploaded every week.